Hey everybody, Bodhi Chandra here with Paddle Surfit. Thanks very much for purchasing a SeaMax stand-up paddleboard package with us. I'm going to put together a short video here for you to help you get your board set up, unpackage it, inflate it, and then show you how to deflate it and repack it again. So you're going to receive this box when you pick it up from us here, or when we ship it out to you. Everything that you need can be found in the box. Everything that you need to get you out in the water. So when you open up your box, you're going to find your backpack. Nice handy backpack to be able to get you point A to point B before you get out on the water. We've got a wonderful two-stage pump, a leash, repair kit, your rear fin, three-piece adjustable paddle, and your board. All right, everybody, so this is, once you get everything unpackaged, this is what you're going to have. So the first thing, let's set up our paddle. We've got a three-piece adjustable paddle. Right off the top, what we do is we flip open this little section here, and this is where we will slide in that top piece of the paddle, so that can adjust for your height. Typically what I like to do is I like to set the paddle blade down on the ground, put my hand up over my head, and have this T-grip roughly at about my wrist or shorter, okay? And you can line up the little arrow here that you see, and that goes straight with the line. From here then, we just simply pop that little button open and in, and our paddle is together. Just a little pro tip, what we do with all of our rentals is I buy a pool noodle, okay? And I slice off a little piece of the pool noodle and I slide this down. Although these paddles do float, if they're left in the water indefinitely, because it is an adjustable paddle, it may sink. So this is a little extra bit of insurance that we like to use to ensure that your paddle is going to stay on top of the water for you. Okay. So with your two-stage pump, great thing about these pumps, you can inflate and you can deflate. So what I like to do, if you take a look here, I like to use the gauge here to know that when I'm facing the gauge to pumping, I'm going to screw, when I want to inflate the board, I'm going to set that up on this side. If I want to deflate, I'm going to put it, say it would be at the 6 o'clock end, okay? Really important here, when you go to open up the valve on the back of your board, this is your little protection cap. You're going to see a little valve here with a little pin. You want to push that down and give it a little turn until it pops up. It's very subtle, but you want to make sure that that little valve is in the up position when you go to pump it up, because otherwise when you take the hose off, inevitably what's going to happen is all the air, all the hard work is going to be for naught, and that air is going to come out quickly. So we want to make sure that that pin is up. Then we simply line up this end of the pump hose with the little T-bars that are down inside that valve and give it a quarter turn. Okay. When we go to start pumping, it's a two-stage pump, which means it can either pump on both the pull and the push, or just on the push. So in the beginning, what I like to do is I just like to pump along with two-stage. Now two-stage, when you take this little guy right here and you pop it in, now it's going to pump on both the pull and the push. So the first little bit is going to be really easy. You're going to be able to do it quite easily standing straight, just pumping with your upper body. I'm just using my arms. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Really important to keep in mind that because this is such a large space, and we only go to a maximum of 15 psi, your gauge isn't going to register till probably about 10 pounds. So the board is going to almost look full to you. And you think, wow, the gauge isn't registering. Something may be wrong with the gauge. All of these pumps are the same with all manufacturers. It takes a certain amount of resistance until that air pressure is going to pop up. That's when the hard yards come in. And at that point, what you're going to do is you're going to open up this little valve, and it's going to make it easier to pump using your legs. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, so this has taken me probably about 3 or 4 minutes of easy pumping. The gauge isn't registering yet, but as you can tell, the board is really taking shape. You might think, wow, it's ready to go. But at this point, this is where, again, I want to release, take this little stopper out of here, and now I want to start pumping, utilizing my legs to get it all the way up to 15 pounds. So now I'm going to lock my arms out. I'm going to drop my body weight. And that's the way I'm going to get this all the way up to 15 PSI. Now, let me put a caveat on that. Do you need to get your board all the way to 15 PSI every time? That's the maximum pressure. Lots of people paddle at 10, 12, 13. The key is it depends on how big you are. You're taking your dog, you're taking your kids with you on the board. The more rigid, the more pressure it has, the stiffer it's going to be, the better it's going to perform. But it's not absolutely necessary. So now we're fully inflated, 15 PSI. We have our leash on. I'll just give you a bit of orientation of the board here before we flip it over and do the final thing, which is put our fin in. So right at the front of the board, we have some nice deck rigging. That deck rigging is where you can slide your dry bag, put your lunch underneath it, put your sandals or your shoes underneath it, keep everything nice and secure. There's some extra D-rings on the board as well if you were to choose to purchase an additional kayak kit that we sell, which has got a seat. I'll show you this in a separate video, and an interchangeable stand-up paddle kayak paddle. But finally, let's get this fin in. So what we're going to do is we're just going to flip the board over. On the bottom of the board, you see there's two fixed rubber fins. These are laminated, glued onto the board. They're never going to come off. They're super, super durable. But this rear fin, rear center fin, you want to remove every time. So super simple, no tools required. We just slide that back into place. And if you take a look here on this side, there is a little plug, like so. And this guy is just going to line up here, and it's going to slide in, and it's going to click, and now your fin's in place. So now we're going to go in reverse order. We're going to pack it all up. You've just finished a beautiful day on the lake. First thing we want to do is remove our fin, okay? So I'm just going to push on this little tab and pull it back. There we go. Give that a little tap, and we have our fin out. And flip the board over. And here's how we deflate. We're going to open up our valve cap. Again, we don't want to put our face over top of this valve. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to step back. I'm going to give this a push and a little bit of a quarter turn, and you're going to hear it. It's going to be loud, and all of the air is going to start coming out. So I've still got a little bit of air left in the board. I didn't pull it all out with the pump, but now I'm going to just start folding it. So a couple of key things. You kind of want to make sure that the board is clean. So if you come out, if you're out on the beach, try and not have sand, have it covered in sand. Get out on a grassy area, you can wipe it down, or out on the gravel. What I simply do now is I start folding, and I like to fold the nose of the board to roughly the front of the deck pad, okay? And then I'm going to fold again, making sure everything's nice and straight and nice and clean. Continue to fold, pushing out a little bit of air as I go. When I get to this point, like so, and I just tuck the tail underneath, and I'm going to grab my strap, tuck my strap underneath the board, Now, oftentimes people ask me, well, do I have to deflate it completely every time I use it? Well, not at all. A lot of people, if you're driving an SUV or a small car and you just want to partially deflate it and fold it in half, that's just fine. But if you're traveling with it or storing it for an extended period of time, you definitely want to make sure that the board is dry before you store it for an extended period of time. Dry and clean, but it's not necessary to deflate them every time. We leave our boards inflated on the dock all season long. We'll actually throw them up on the roof of the truck and go and visit other lakes as well. One thing that you do want to keep in mind is if you're at maximum air pressure, 15 psi, air in an enclosed space will expand given heat. So if it's 30 or 40 degrees out and your board is sitting out in the sun, you really want to make sure to let a little bit of air out of it to allow for expansion if you're carrying it on the roof of your car, if you've got it in the back of the truck. Similarly, another tip, just with respect to it sitting out on the beach, down on the dock, always want to flip it over and have deck pad down. So fin up, that accomplishes two things. Nobody jumps on your board with the fin down to the ground and snaps it off, but also that deck pad won't be as susceptible to fading. All right, from here, we can just pop our board into our backpack. I like to sort of do it in a bit of a reverse order, bringing the bag over top of the board versus the board into the bag. Just like so. Then there's a place for your fin and for your leash. Nice little pocket at the front. And for your repair kit. And that pops in like so. And then it's just a matter of getting that 3-piece paddle torn down. You can either slide it into the center or off to the sides, like so. T-grip out of the top. Little snug up here. Couple of straps across the back. And it's that easy. You're all ready for your next adventure. Mahalo. So one final note, you'll find in the bottom of your box a quick setup guide. So take a quick read over this, gives you all of your warranty information as well, and pretty much covers everything that I did here in the video. Have a fantastic summer. Great paddling. Be well.